worth it. Still scared. Mouth is dry. It was worth it.
E preste atenção, bota-se abre e aumenta o poder da visão. Isso é o meu compromisso. E se eu fumo, ninguém tem nada com isso, não. Preciso da sua postura, a minha segurança eu passo na cintura. O hipócrita, os valores não. É tanto preconceito que eu não aguento mais. Se você tem amor pelo que tem no peito, mas mantenha o respeito.
We had so much footage from Serra da Canastra. We're still in Minas Gerais, and this is like the only way I could figure out how we could use all the footage from here, because we were here for a total of 5 days and we did a lot of things, a lot of cool video clips, in my opinion. I wanted to sit down here. Me and Morgan are going to talk about what we did, kind of do a day by day, and then interchange with some video clips over top of what we're talking about. Similar to this format of the podcast, there's going to be a full uncut conversation that will be posted on podcasts, where you can listen to the full conversation and hear us stutter and try to remember about what we did every day. So this park is incredible. You know, it's a huge mountain range. It's a huge park. It's 760 square miles. I think there's 130 waterfalls in this region, and it's the origin of the São Francisco River.
This is Rio São Francisco, where it's born. It's one of the largest rivers in Brazil. It goes up north, and it basically feeds the whole north region of Brazil. It's a super important river, and it starts right here. Beautiful.
It was kind of crazy because it was pretty small, like to think that it supplies the entire São Francisco River.
Yeah.
Like we were expecting to like walk up to this big water source, and it was like just a little bit of water trickling out of the ground.
Yeah, it's just a small aquifer, right? And as the São Francisco River gets bigger, I think it has like a big surface watershed as it moves north, and it just gets bigger and bigger. All in all, introduction, this is a crazy park. This is awesome. And we did a lot. So day one, we're going right into what we did. We stayed in an Airbnb kind of hotel place. We had it all to ourselves because it was during the week and no one was here. We had an incredible spot kind of off the beaten path. There's only dirt roads around this area. We went back here, and right behind where we're staying was the São Francisco River. So me and George every morning had the wonderful idea that we would go do a little Wim Hof and submerge, do some cold water, ice water submersion in the São Francisco.
Yes, you did. I watched from the side.
Morgan had no involvement of wanting to submerge himself in the cold water, but it was awesome going out and doing that in the morning. So that's where we started off this trip with.
After Jake and George's submerge in the river, we hopped in the truck and we headed into the park. We had planned to go hike the Cachoeira do Fundão. We got into the park and we talked to a park ranger on the way in, and we were just kind of asking him some questions, looking at the map, and he was like, oh yeah, you guys got plenty of time. You might even be able to do this other waterfall hike. Okay, cool.
And let alone, like, this park's huge, remember, right?
Yes.
So we are already putting this stuff in the GPS. It's dirt roads. We're expecting it's going to be a long drive.
Do you remember how long the GPS told us to get there?
I want to say like maybe an hour and a half, and then it ended up almost taking 3 hours to get to the trailhead.
Well, and we were stopping here, stopping
yeah.
there, because we're in this beautiful park, and it's like we're taking our good old time to get there because we thought we had plenty of time, and there was lots of things to stop and see.
And nobody's here. We're not seeing other guests.
Did we even pass one other car? Maybe one.
Maybe one or two. Yeah.
There wasn't many, but yeah, all dirt roads, and they weren't bad for the most part. There were some bumpy roads. Then we get over to the road that takes us to the trailhead for the waterfall, and they start getting slightly worse, and we're like, okay, this is okay.
And this is after the guide at the park entrance warned us. He's like, yeah, it's a little rough, but you guys have a big 4x4 truck. You're going to make it fine.
Yeah.
And we're like, okay, cool. So we just keep driving, and it gets just getting worse and worse. So like we were driving, and then like I'm hopping out of the car every minute, maybe 30 seconds to help guide George, because there's one path that this truck can make it.
Yeah, Jake and Paula were both getting out and helping, like one looking from the back, one looking from the front, like, okay, which way should the truck turn to make it through this giant rut? And It was a very stressful time. George was stressed out driving, rightfully so, because the truck was leaned
God.
one side trying to go through this through this road. And
We're realizing, like, if we want to do this hike and swim at the waterfall, that we're gonna have to start going and moving at a little faster pace. We eventually get to a point where, like, the road's just too bad.
yeah, horrible spot where like the truck's not going through that.
Yeah.
We have to stop here.
And we stopped there. I had the trail downloaded, and it was like, okay, I think that maybe one way, if I remember right, it was like 1.5 miles to the Fundao. I think we got time, but we're gonna have to make sure that we're watching the clock because the sun's gonna set soon.
Yeah, and we need to drive back up that road we just drove down before it gets dark, because
Yeah.
otherwise
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. And they told us that, like, we're supposed to be out of the park
at a certain time.
by a certain time, and that's where the crunch time was.
Yeah, we also knew if it was dark and we couldn't see all the ruts in the road, it was going to be impossible to get the truck back up that road we
Yes.
drove down.
Yeah.
So we were on a bit of a time schedule.
And it ended up being 100% worth it because we did the trail to Fundao. Again, nobody's here. There's not another person on this hike.
We show up to where the waterfall's at, and like it's like you turn a corner and come out of the trees and you just see this amazing waterfall coming down with a big pool that you can swim in underneath of it.
Yes.
And it was like, oh my gosh, nobody's here.
Yeah. And it was just before, like, the sun was starting to go behind some of the mountains. So it was just starting to get shaded. So we had maybe like a half an hour to 45 minutes where we was like, okay, let's go swimming and jump in and take some photos and videos of this amazing waterfall. And that's 100% what we did. We took advantage of this last little bit of time, and we just swam around this ice water.
The water was very cold.
and
And I even got in. I'm usually a wimp about it, but I did it because I was like, I'm not missing the opportunity to swim in this waterfall.
oh, it was so fun though, just jumping
Yeah.
in and having this whole area like in the middle of nowhere to ourselves, and this incredible waterfall. It was such a fun hike. And I remember when we left there, we said, like, dude, we could have totally spent all afternoon here if
Oh,
we
yeah.
would have brought lunch and just hung out back there by the pools, or the natural pool, I should say, and just swam and ate and just chilled back there for 3 or 4 hours. Easily
Yeah.
could have done that.
I mean, it's just not common to get a waterfall all to yourself, especially if you're hiking in the U.S.
Oh my God.
Waterfalls are always busy.
Yeah,
So
completely packed.
just the fact that we had it to ourselves was awesome.
Yes, that's all I could say. We would, if we'd had more time there, we would have done it. But
Yep.
now we're on the time crunch. We start looking at our watch, and me and George are like, we got to get back to make sure that we can see where we're driving this truck and not driving through this horrible road in dark, because it's going to be a nightmare.
Yeah.
So we're hiking at an extremely good pace, like one of the fastest hiking paces. And then at the end, we're like seeing the sun go down. It's getting darker. And I just say,
So
we're going to have to run.
the good part about the way there was we were all downhill. On the way back, we were going uphill
Yeah.
the whole way. So we're trying to like run, and we're like,
And we're running. We're like dead running.
that was a horrible walk back. But we made it. My heart might be pounding out of my chest, but we're here.
Was it worth it?
Yes, I think so.
It wasn't a big deal. We ended up driving at nighttime, and it's like, damn, this is a long day. This much driving, hiking, swimming, dealing with these dirt roads, gravel roads. And we're leaving the park, and we're like, oh man, hopefully we're not going to have any issues, or hopefully the gate's not going to be closed. And they have another park guide there, and then we're talking to him, and he's like, dude, that guy told you to drive back there. He's like, that is horrible. He's like, it got washed out the last couple seasons, and the road is just getting worse and worse. He's like, I always recommend people to, like, don't drive back there, just walk
Yeah.
the road.
Well, and he said, because the park's really big for people with like ATVs and stuff, right?
Oh yeah,
He
yeah.
said those guys won't even drive down that road.
and
And we
taking
were
this
like,
truck. So we're like, oh well, we did it. We got out halfway, and he's like, I can't believe you went that far. All in all, it was awesome. So that's the end of day 1. So day 2, we wake up, we do a little more yoga session, another cold water submersion, of course. And today was a bit of a lazy day.
Lazy? I'm not being lazy.
I mean, you kind of aren't going to do anything today.
How do you know?
Because I am you, just in the future.
Well, how can I be lazy? I'm writing the script that you're reading right now. See?
Well, okay, you aren't lazy. Wait, I didn't want to say that. Stop changing the story.
Whatever, dude. You kind of suck.
Okay. So what else did we actually end up doing on day 2?
So day 2, from what I remember, we just kind of hung out in the morning, and then we ended up going for lunch at a local restaurant in the town there. And then so after lunch, we went and we got cheese, because this region is known for having world famous cheese.
Which is known as like Queijo da Canastra.
Yeah,
It's
called
the region, the whole region is known for cheese manufacturing. And like you said, it's world-class cheese, so it's like not even a joke and not even just like a local thing, like, oh, hey, we have the best cheese. It's
actually like award-winning.
Yeah, rated as, hey, this is the best cheese of all of Brazil is going to be made here. And they take it to world events, and it wins like world-class rankings for some of the best cheese in the world. So it's just a legit thing. It's not just like, oh, hey, we have like the world's best cheese. It's up there, and it's incredible.
Yeah, so of course we had to go try some cheese, and it was delicious. We bought a lot of cheese while we were in this
Yeah.
region. Wish I had some of it right now, actually.
Yeah, oh my God. It's hard to even explain how good it was, because
Like
it's so
creamy
unique.
and like, I don't know, amazing flavor.
Yeah.
Just all around good cheese.
Yeah.
If you're a cheese connoisseur, go to Brazil, get some cheese from Serra da Canastra.
Another thing is that this region is known for is the coffee.
Yes.
So, and what I didn't know before coming here was how much of an art like growing coffee is and what all goes into it. I mean, we've been drinking coffee for years, and just kind of realized how ignorant we were to the whole process of it, and like how much of a, I don't know what I'm trying to think of, like just how much of a process it is to
Yeah.
make sure you get good coffee grounds.
An art to making good coffee, not like just buying a bag of coffee in the supermarket that says that it's that you
Yeah.
think's a good brand. Oh, maybe it's not.
Yeah, so it kind of reignited some thought to go behind, hey, this drink that we make every day, you know, the history of it and the process that goes into making it is not easy. I think Tuesday night we end up stopping and we talked to a local farmer and coffee producer, and he explained some of his process and like the rankings that go into it to make sure that you have a good coffee. And he explained the whole process from start to finish, and it was like, oh my God, I am completely ignorant to this process. And then the one last thing I wanted to talk about was the famous Jacu coffee.
The jacu is like a famous bird in Brazil, and so basically the coffee beans come from the jacu poop, because the bird eats the fruit that comes from the plant, but
And seed and all. So they just eat it in one bite.
They eat it all, and then their stomach doesn't digest the seed, so they poop the seed back out, and then whatever, like,
They have their acids do kind of like its own fermentation process.
so it makes it like a really smooth coffee bean, and people like look for this coffee. So they'll find the jacu poop and clean the beans off, and then this coffee goes for like a super high price.
Yeah, what the guy was saying was that they have to hand find these jacu seeds from the coffee beans. So they go around hand picking them. That has to be their own batch. So when they get enough jacu coffee beans, they roast them individually with their own batch and make sure it's up to quality and meets the quality specs for coffee. And this guy was saying that if you make a certifiable passing grade test of a coffee, that they'll have international buyers come in and buy these things for like $10,000 a sack.
Yeah, it was something crazy. Like what?
I don't remember the exact like size dimensions of the bag that he was saying, but probably a standard like farm sack for 10 grand. And that was dollars too. That wasn't reals. So this is some expensive coffee, but it was fun learning about the history. But unfortunately, we didn't try any of
Not
this.
try the jacu coffee, no.
Nor do I think we can afford it.
So after the whole coffee thing, we ended up driving back to our posada, and with being out in the middle of nowhere by this giant national park, there's not much light pollution, so the stars are incredible. So just driving back, we kept like sticking our heads out the window trying to look at the stars, and so we got back and Jake wanted to get out his camera and take some awesome pictures of the stars.
Yeah. So Flash, here's some incredible photos from that we got from that night. They're doctored up just a fuzz, but it still it is doing it justice for what we could actually see.
Oh yeah. So yeah, that was pretty much it for day 2, right?
Day 2 is wrapped up. Day 3. What do we do?
Well, we woke up, and with a surprise, the owners of the posada that we were staying at made us homemade pão de queijo, which is a Brazilian cheese bread, if you don't know, and it's a famous staple to eat for breakfast. And they made this delicious homemade one that had the famous cheese from the region in it. So delicious. It was very good and very nice of them. So we got to start our morning out with that.
We're going to the biggest waterfall in the region of Serra da Canastra. It's called Cascadanta. We're gonna hike up to the highest portion, then come down to watch the waterfall.
So round trip, it was 6.5, 7 miles, and with 2,000 feet of elevation gain. I think from looking at my watch, from timing it, we did total hike time was around 3.5 hours. We started at the base of Danta, and we started hiking, and we walked up this whole thing. And it was just kind of crazy doing this trail because of going through the different levels of vegetation and ecosystem that there was, because you start off kind of in a dense forest. You're at the base of the waterfall. You couldn't swim in this at the base of this one. It was too small of a pool and too powerful of a waterfall. But then we kept hiking up, and then it starts getting less and less vegetation, turning more into red rock, and then you get to the top, and then you get a completely different sort of region. Remember all those
Yeah, there was
trees?
like little trees like that weren't even on any other part of the trail.
You kind of pass through all this, and then you get to the top, which is kind of closer to where we were driving for Fundão on the first day, and we're kind of over in this region now. And there's just little natural pools everywhere at the top of the waterfall. So
Yeah, so the river's running, and there's like a couple like smaller falls that lead into the bigger fall. So then it created some like pools there that we were able to swim in.
yeah, and of course we did some more swimming there. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, there's like one base that was like 19 meters deep, which is like really deep at the top of the waterfall.
Yeah.
There's a deep dive pool that you could swim down, and it was awesome again. There's some more cold water, some more swimming after a nice hot hike.
Yeah, and not to mention at the top, the view just overlooking the valley there was incredible. We couldn't actually see the big waterfall from standing on top of it,
Yeah.
but just the view from being on top of it was amazing.
Oh yes. We had
Yeah.
lunch right at the top of the waterfall, overlooking the valley, and then we turned around and went right back down. We left the hike and we're like, oh my gosh, we're starving for an actual meal. So we're looking up kind of what to eat in this area, what's the best local food, and we ended up finding, I don't remember the little village name. I might have to look this up and edit, and I'll put it on the screen if I can find it. We found another little town, and it was good rest, good ratings, and it was all locally sourced food, all you could eat buffet, Brazilian food, and we chowed down.
Yeah, we got there and they were actually closing as we got there, and they said, no, don't worry, we'll open back up for you guys. They still had the food in the kitchen.
Yeah.
So we were able to just go through, take as much as we wanted. Amazing rice and beans and everything.
Chicken,
Like
beef.
some of the best authentic food that we might have had. And it was super cheap. Like,
Yeah, I think it equated to, it was an all-you-could-eat buffet with a drink, might have came out to like $5 or $6
yeah.
a person, which is insane.
Which is crazy.
Yeah, when it's all locally
For
sourced.
amazing home cooked food too.
Yeah, they said all the vegetables were from the garden or somewhere in town, and the meat was from another farmer in town. So it's just like, it's crazy. So day 4, we woke up. We had one last polar plunge before we decided to pack up and leave the Posada. So one last time in the ice water, the São Francisco. And we packed up all of our stuff. We cleaned the truck up. And we decided that we were going to go a little west back into the park, kind of go around the city, because George heard of this route that you could drive, which he said, I was looking at this online. And he said this was the most incredible thing that you can do. He said you go up to the peak and you drive this amazing drive through kind of this different side of the park, and then you make your way back out, and then you go north from there. So we just packed up and we started heading down that route, and it was kind of a chill morning. And we just, before doing the official drive, we basically just found a camp spot. So we set up the tents and we pulled along the road, and we set up tents and went camping for the night.
Yeah, we found a really nice spot that had like an overlook, and we could actually see the Casca de Anta that we hiked the day before from where we were camping off in the distance, and just kind of overlooking in the valley, right?
Yep.
So found a great spot to camp, set up our stuff, and then just kind of relaxed that night.
Yeah, we
took
made
in the views and
we watched the sunset. We made a campfire.
cooked up some cheese and bread that we had for supper.
Drank some cachaça wine. I don't know.
I think just cachaça. We had some cachaça. You and George might have got out a cigar.
Enjoyed the night around the campfire.
Yeah.
So all was going good until I wake up in my sleeping bag, unable to sleep, trying to figure out what the fuck's going on because I can't stop scratching my legs. And I'm just scratching completely, just can't fall asleep, and it's bothering me. And I'm going insane, and come to find out I had my whole sleeping bag was infested with kind of some very small ticks. It was fucking horrible. I'm just like freaking out, and I get up out of the tent, and George hears me scrambling around at 1 or 2 in the morning. And I'm like, dude, can't go to sleep because my sleeping bag's full of these little ticks and stuff. I got out, and I doused myself in bug spray. I have our bug, I don't know what you call it.
Thermacell or something.
Thermacell. So I drop that in the bottom of my sleeping bag, and I just pray that I can fall asleep. And I think I might have killed all these bastards because then I was able to fall asleep and not have any more ticks at me.
Yeah. So thankfully, I didn't have any in my sleeping bag.
So yeah, that was a fun way to end the night. Okay, and we're at day 5, the final day in Serra da Canastra. We packed up everything, and then we decided that we're going to do this drive that's known as Vargem Bonita to Delfinopolis. We pack up and we start driving this route, and we know it's going to take probably most day. This is like a 5 or 6 hour drive, and George like, dude, trust me, this is going to be worth it. This is everything I see online this is the best drive that someone can take if you're in this region, and if not, like, of all of Brazil. It's completely unique to itself. We start driving this route.
Of course, all dirt roads again.
Yeah, dirt roads, stone roads, and we come up to a point again where it's fucking horrible. It's worse than the last road.
We thought the roads were bad on the first day when we drove, and then this was not even comparable. It was way worse.
Yeah.
When we got to a certain point.
We were driving for a few hours already. And I was like, we can't turn around now. It's like we're too far in, because if we try turning around and going around, this is like going to turn into a 9 or 10 hour drive at this point.
And we had already went through so many bad spots that we didn't want to turn around and go back through them again. And we were just hoping like, okay, we're getting to the end.
This is going to be the end.
We're not turning around. This is going to be it, right?
And we just keep driving, and the road's just getting worse and worse. I'm getting out of the truck, and just like, all right, just guiding George to make sure we're driving in the right spots. There was times where like wheels were coming off the ground. We're driving over 3-foot holes.
Yeah.
Rocks everywhere.
I was inside of the truck just like riding, because I'm like, I'm not going to be any help out there. Jake and Paula are already out there helping. And like at one point you just see on both of their faces like, oh my God, the truck was like on 2 wheels.
Yeah.
But
so like
we made it.
And then finally we get to the top, and then it's like we see another road sign, and we're like, there's no way that we went the wrong way. And we talked to a guy on a motorcycle, and he's like, you guys didn't take that road up, did you? And we're, yeah. And he's like, dude, that thing has been undrivable for 2 years because of the washouts. We missed a right turn early on, and then we kind of went a route that was like, people don't fucking drive this route anymore. Yeah. It was horrible. And we were like, you're shitting me. He's like, oh yeah, the other road's like completely clean. You would have been fine. You would have got up here in an hour, and it took us like 3 hours to get to this point already.
Yeah, terrible road. Don't recommend it to anybody. Like, that was the sketchiest driving we've ever done.
Oh my God. Yeah, that was the definition of off-roading driving. And none of us were prepared for off-roading, or nor did we were in the mood for it, because we're 6 hours from the nearest town. So there's this road at the top of a peak, and then there's a valley on each side of it.
Yeah, so we're basically driving on like a ridge, and
there's like a cliff here, a valley, the ridge where the road's at, and then a valley, and then a cliff here. And we're just driving right down that center ridge for the next hour and a half. And it was fucking awesome.
Yeah, it was beautiful. Worth the damage to the truck? I don't know, but it was...
Don't say anything.
No, it was incredible.
And we just drive. We're driving. We stopped to look at the horizon. I was flying the drone around the truck, and it was incredible. It was a cool drive. So we make it down to Delphinopolis, and that concludes our 5-day trip excursion in Serra da Canastra, and concludes our trip of exploring Minas Gerais for this time, because after this we left the state and we're heading up towards north towards Brasilia.
Yes. So it was an awesome trip. Great national park. Would love to return.
Yeah.
And
that's it.
That's it.
Thanks for watching. Hope you like the visuals can even do this justice, how incredible this park is. I think it might be the best national park in Brazil that we've went to. George and Paula raved about it. It was so awesome. No one was here, but definitely 4x4 truck is needed if you're going to be exploring this region. And if you want to listen to more of the full uncut version, again, head over to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, and you can listen to the uncut conversation that me and Morgan had about Serra da Canastra.
Ciao.
Cheers. And I don't think we could have done it without our Volkswagen Amarok.